Bruce Lipton begins today's pre-recorded discussion by explaining that interconnectedness of all life. Dr. Bruce Lipton, this week we're talking about epigenetics and the environment and how they tie in together. You've been working in India. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing over there?
In India, what we're trying to do is help the farmers recover from a devastating influence of Monsanto, genetically engineered products. And the problem with genetic engineering is it's created in a laboratory all by itself, but it's not really. Genetic organisms then released into the environment have a whole completely different influence than if you just grow it in a laboratory and look at it itself. So when you take these genetically modified seeds like Monsanto is selling, with the ideas, of course, they're going to create the greatest crops in the world. That's what the belief is. And they're extremely expensive seeds. And then you find that Indian farmers have been sold this bill of goods. Monsanto comes in and says, you buy our seeds and Roundup and all that stuff, and you're going to have the best crops. And guess what? In the first year, it actually worked. The crops were really good. In the second year, the crops didn't fare as well. In the third year, the crops actually began to fail profoundly. Every year, it was costing the farmers more money because they had to buy the very expensive modified seeds and the Roundup. Then they found out, guess what? The GMO seeds use more nutrients out of the ground than conventional plants. So now all of a sudden they bought the expensive seeds, but now they have to buy more fertilizer, more expense. Then they found out that GMO plants use more water than conventional plants. So guess what? They had to invest more water, make more wells to get more water for the. So they kept putting money in, but by the third year when the crops failed, they had no crops, but they had massive debt.
And these are people who had perfectly good systems beforehand.
They had, yeah, because but when the GMO companies come in and paint this picture of, oh my God, it's going to be farmers' heaven, you're going to get the greatest crops in the world. Of course they bought into the belief system. And when the first year happened, it really instilled in them, yeah, this is really good. But as it went downhill, they started to realize they were in debt. The crops were not enough to offset the cost of the seeds, the cost of the fertilizer, the cost of the extra water, and they became indebted. The farms started to crash. Well, the farms are the heart of a community. All the people around the farms survive because of the farm. When the farm goes down, the community goes down around it. So
what's been the effect on the Indian farmers? What's happened when?
Oh, it's a terrible effect because here's what it's based on. Indian law says that if a farm is gone into debt like that, if the father dies, the family can keep the farm without the debt. So now what happened? 250,000 farmers in so much debt they couldn't save the farm killed themselves. Interesting? Many of them drank Roundup, the poison from Monsanto, because it killed them. And so it was devastating. The farms were devastated. The community started to enfold. There wasn't farming going on. I am involved with a company called Organic India. Organic India came in after this big failure and said, look, we can change the farming practices. The first thing the farmers did is go, oh my God, another Westerner coming in here to tell us how to do farming after they're in the midst of this great devastation. They were not interested. And it was actually one farmer who said, I have nothing left to lose. And he said, okay, show me your biodynamic farming. This is not organic farming. It's greater than organic farming. You've got to separate. Organic farming means I grow stuff in appropriate chemistry.
And you don't put Roundup on it.
Yeah, and you don't put poison on it. Biodynamic farming says, look, it's all a system. The insects in the field, the animals in the field, whatever's going on with the weeds and the plants, there's a connection. It's a community. If you want to understand how to make a farm go, you can't just say, I'm just going to change the chemistry and then the plants will grow. The farmer's part of the ecosystem, the family, the community is like, oh, biodynamics says, how do we farm and incorporate everything into one system and understand it?
This is fascinating because more and more people are thinking about the probiotics in their stomachs. There's the same sort of probiotic need in the soil, isn't there?
Absolutely. If you deplete the soil of these things, that's why the Monsanto thing just killed the farming, because it depleted the soil. So Organic India got this one farmer interested in it. He grew his crops, and guess what? All the other farmers looked and went, oh my God, look at the production. And it was really neat because it was a pay-it-forward kind of scheme. meaning that Organic India would say to the farmer, we will teach you biodynamic farming and we will buy every crop you raise. We will buy all of it. So the farmers never had to worry about selling it because whatever they grew was going to be sold. But the payback for them was once they learned biodynamic farming and a new farmer joined the community, then those that were already doing it would go to the new farm and teach them biodynamics, so it was paying it forward. And now they've got thousands, I think 25,000 farmers that are part of this collective. And it's a whole new way of doing business. It's not just creating harmony in the garden, but
respect for Mother Earth.
Respect, all of it is really, because it says, look, everything you do as the farmer, as the insects, what are you doing with the insects? Because if you kill the bees, then what the heck are you how are you going to pollinate the crop? And you start to find out with biodynamics, you are really fulfilling the complete environment, not just like organic, saying, oh, I just put the chemical in the ground. It's like organic, I only grew it in organic chemistry. It's like, no, it's a little bit more than that.
And John, this is something that you wanted to talk about, the soil health, isn't it?
I ran an organic business 25 years ago, and the problem we struggled with supply at the time. And so I was doing a lot of work with biodynamic farmers in the day. And obviously, as you mentioned, gut health and the soil. I mean, it's the bacteria that are driving the productivity of your own body, because they're about 90% of the cells in our body. Same in the soil, of course. So they used the holy cow for the dung of the cow, and they reproduce healthy bacteria from the dung of the cow and spread it over the soil. And they reproduce so quickly, you increase your soil fertility, you increase your the rest of your soil nutrients, of course, and the water, because a big part of the problem with farming is the amount of water.
Yes, what's the water situation in India?
Well, that living matter contains water. All of life is about 80% water.
Yeah.
So those living biological organisms in the soil are composed of 80% water. So you don't need to put so much water into the soil. And they reproduce remarkably quickly. So, and then it ties in with a whole lot of other things, managing fungus and mould. And, there's a whole process involved. Rudolf Stein developed this over 100 years ago, and it would have been the normal for farming if it hadn't been for some of the nerve gases, the mustard gases from the First World War being converted into agriculture. So history fated that we lost a lot of the scientific knowledge of biodynamics after the end of the First World War, and the agrochemical industry was formed.
Did you realise that, Bruce, that it all comes from war, the agrochemical side of farming?
Absolutely. And even like things like fluoride. Fluoride is industrial waste matter that was accumulated. They didn't know what to do with it. And they said, oh, well, it could prevent tooth decay. And all of a sudden, just selling that, they sold the waste matter as fluoride, which they put in the water, and it turns out to be destructive as well. Again, it's these issues of the kind of chemical breakdown of the world. Say, oh, if I just change one chemical, then I've influenced everything. And what we're finding out, and what John's work is really in the health system, is there's not a system, there are many systems in the body. If you try to affect one system, you're going to mess up because one system affects another system. But think about it in our allopathic community. Oh, I have a cardiologist, he's going to work with my vascular system. Oh, I have an immunologist, he's going to work with my immune system. I have a neurologist, he's going to work with my brain. I said, well, these are great. Everyone's working on one system. The problem now that we recognize in medicine is this. One system affects another system. So if you only study one system and become a specialist in one system, you have no concept of how, when you treat this one system, what is the consequence on the other systems in the body? And this is a new look at biology, because now, instead of individual systems, biology has transitioned into what is called systems biology. Yes, I know there's a liver, and I know there's a brain, and I know there's this other organ, but I also know in systems biology, they're all interconnected. If I alter one, I'm going to alter the other. And this is why medicine has to move out of the focus on any individual system and move into the world of holistic health. Holism, not even just what's going on in my own systems, what's going on in the job, what's going on in the family, what's going on in the atmosphere I'm breathing, what's going on in the food I'm eating. And all of a sudden, holism says, my health is not just underneath my skin. My health is an integrated community with everything else in the world. And when we forget the nature of community, you break up community, you lose health. When the 50 trillion cells in your body lose the community character, that's when disease begins. Disease is a reflection of a breakdown in community. And the new biology and the new medicine and John's work, to me, this is why it's so critical, is because it says, when a patient comes in, do I just look at their heart? No. I have to look at every aspect, not just what's under the skin, but what's going on in the house and what's going on in the job are as important.
And that gets back to your farming that you were talking about at the beginning with India healing through looking at the whole system. It all ties in together, the whole,
absolutely,
for every system.
And it's great because once biodynamic was introduced, those ailing villages that were faltering came right back to life again. Why? It all started with the farmer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bruce Lipton.
You're welcome so much.